First Contact and Defiance. The Azurian Empire's flagship, Eternal Dawn, emerged from hyperspace at the edge of Sol system, its crystalline hull refracting starlight in mesmerizing patterns. High Commander Zyxtal stood on the bridge, his iridescent scales shifting from deep blue to purple, a sign of barely contained disdain. The primitive system before him was supposed to be another routine absorption into the Empire's ever-expanding territory. Status report, Zyxtal commanded, his 4 eyes fixed on the holographic display of Earth. Analyzing, High Commander, his second-in-command, Valnor, responded. Single inhabited planet. Pre-FTL civilization. Primitive fusion technology. Nuclear weapons present but nothing beyond atmospheric capability. Multiple nation-states with no unified government. Zyxtal's scales rippled with amusement. The Empire had conquered thousands of such worlds over the millennia. The process was always the same: show overwhelming force, demand submission, and integrate the new species into the lower ranks of imperial society. Some resisted, of course, but none lasted more than a few days against the Empire's might. Send the standard First Contact package, he ordered. Give them 1 planetary rotation to respond. The message was broadcast globally in all Earth languages: submit to the Azurian Empire or face extinction. The Empire's demands were simple: Earth would surrender all military assets, accept imperial governance, and provide resources and labor for the greater glory of the Empire. The response came not from any government, but from millions of human communication channels simultaneously. Videos, texts, and broadcasts all carrying variations of the same message: we will not submit. Zyxtal's scales shifted to a deep crimson. Impossible. They're not even unified. How dare they dash? High Commander, Valnor interrupted, her scales paling to white. We're detecting unusual energy signatures from Earth's moon. Before Zyxtal could respond, the lunar surface erupted. Hidden bases, concealed beneath the regolith for decades, revealed themselves. Massive rail guns emerged from crater rims, and armored doors slid open in the lunar Maria, disgorging swarms of small, agile spacecraft. Impossible, Zyxtal whispered again, but this time with growing unease. The humans had hidden their true technological capabilities. The primitive fusion engines and chemical rockets visible on the surface had been a facade. The first volley from the lunar rail guns struck the Eternal Dawn's shields with unprecedented force. The impact patterns were chaotic, defying the Empire's predictive defense algorithms. Human ships, smaller but far more maneuverable than Imperial vessels, began executing combat maneuvers that the Empire's tactical computers classified as suicide runs, until they proved devastatingly effective. They're using gravitational slingshot effects in combat, Valnor reported, her voice tinged with disbelief. Combined with minimal thrust adjustments, our targeting systems can't establish lock. Zyxtal watched as human vessels danced through space, using celestial bodies' gravitational fields to accelerate and decelerate in ways that violated standard Imperial combat doctrine. They were turning their technological limitations into advantages, using the physics of space itself as a weapon. High Commander, we're receiving a transmission from Earth. A human appeared on the main display. She wore a simple uniform bearing no rank insignia, yet carried herself with unmistakable authority. I am Admiral Sarah Chen of the United Earth Defense Force. We've spent the last 50 years preparing for this moment. Every alien signal we intercepted, every piece of debris we recovered from passing ships, we studied them all. We knew you were coming. Zyxtal's scales rippled with a mixture of anger and grudging respect. You deceived us. We learned from the best, Chen replied with a slight smile. Your Empire's habit of underestimating primitive species is well documented. We simply took advantage of it. You're used to fighting unified civilizations with predictable military doctrines. Humanity is different. We're chaos incarnate. As if to emphasize her point, another volley of lunar railgun fire struck the Eternal Dawn's shields, this time in a pattern that created resonating frequencies, weakening their integrity far faster than should have been possible. "This is your only warning," Chen continued. "Leave our system, or discover firsthand why humanity has survived every extinction-level event our planet has thrown at us. We've spent our entire history fighting, ourselves, our environment, our limitations. We're very, very good at it." Zwextal's scales shifted through a rainbow of colors as he processed this unprecedented situation. The Empire had never retreated from a pre-FTL civilization before. But they had also never encountered one that had so thoroughly prepared for their arrival. "Status of the fleet," he demanded. "Shields at 47% and falling," Valnor reported. "Human vessels are using some form of quantum entanglement communication, we cannot jam or intercept their signals. 3 destroyers reporting critical damage from weapons we cannot classify." The High Commander made his decision. Not a retreat, he told himself, but a strategic withdrawal to reassess. The Empire had ruled the galaxy for 10,000 years. They could afford to be patient with this one unusual species. "All ships, withdraw to safe jump distance," he ordered. "But hear me, Admiral Chen. This is not over. The Empire does not forget Defiance." "We're counting on it," Chen replied. "Next time, don't expect to find us on the defensive." As the Imperial fleet retreated into hyperspace, Zwextal realized that the galaxy had changed. Humanity had not just survived first contact, they had forced the mighty Azurian Empire to back down. And somehow, he knew this was only the beginning. The hidden arsenal. In the weeks following the Azurian Empire's retreat, Earth's true military capability emerged from decades of secrecy. Deep beneath the Pacific Ocean, massive underwater complexes rose to the surface, revealing shipyards that had been manufacturing vessels in complete radio silence. The asteroid belt, seemingly a chaotic collection of space rocks, transformed as hundreds of camouflaged stations deactivated their stealth fields. Admiral Chen stood in the control room of Olympus Base, carved into the heart of Mars' tallest mountain. Holographic displays showed the continuous stream of ships emerging from hidden facilities across the solar system. Each vessel represented a different approach to space combat, designed to exploit weaknesses in Imperial tactics that humanity had spent years studying. "Status report on Project Prometheus," she asked, watching as another stealth carrier emerged from beneath Europa's icy surface. Dr. Marcus Wong, head of the Unified Earth Defense Research Division, pulled up a new hologram. "The quantum prediction engine is operating at 94% efficiency. We've successfully mapped the Empire's standard combat patterns from the first encounter. Their tactics are, remarkably rigid. 50 years of intercepting their transmissions," Chen mused, "and their greatest weakness turns out to be their own success. They've been undefeated for so long, they've stopped innovating." The quantum prediction engine was humanity's greatest secret, an AI system that combined quantum computing with chaos theory to predict and counter enemy movements. Unlike traditional military AI, it didn't seek perfect solutions. Instead, it embraced uncertainty, generating thousands of seemingly random but tactically sound strategies that no Imperial commander would expect. "Commander Rodriguez, report on the swarm protocol," Chen called out to her tactical officer. Rodriguez, a former guerrilla warfare specialist, grinned as he brought up footage from the latest exercises. "Beautiful chaos, Admiral. Each microship has enough AI to operate independently, but they move like a fluid when working together. The Empire's targeting systems won't know whether to track them as individual vessels or a single mass." The screen showed clouds of ships no larger than fighter jets, flowing around asteroids and forming unpredictable patterns. They could combine into larger formations or split apart instantly, making them nearly impossible to track with conventional targeting systems. "And the Lazarus Protocol?" Chen asked, turning to Dr. Yuki Tanaka, head of materials science. Tanaka's hologram appeared, transmitted from her lab in the Kuiper Belt. The self-repairing nanomaterial is exceeding expectations. When Imperial weapons hit our ships, the energy actually helps power the repair process. The more they shoot us, the stronger our hulls become. Chen nodded, satisfaction evident in her expression. Humanity had turned its greatest disadvantage, its fractious nature and tendency toward chaos, into its strongest asset. While the Empire built standardized ships and trained its crews to follow strict protocols, Earth's fleet was a collection of wildcards. New contact. The alert came from the long-range detection grid. Multiple Imperial scouts detected at the edge of the Oort cloud. They're mapping our defenses, Chen observed. Good. Let them see exactly what we want them to see. On her command, certain facilities began powering down their stealth fields while others activated stronger camouflage. It was a carefully choreographed dance of revelation and deception. The Empire would see impressive capabilities, but not humanity's true strength. Message from the Titan Deep Space Array, Rodriguez reported. We're picking up massive hyperspace disturbances. The Empire is mobilizing a fleet unlike anything in our intercepted records. Chen's expression hardened. They're taking us seriously now. Good. Deploy Phase 2 countermeasures. Activate the quantum buoys. Across the solar system, seemingly innocent satellites began broadcasting quantum-entangled signals, creating a communication network that no Imperial technology could detect or disrupt. Unlike the Empire's rigid command structure, Earth's forces could coordinate instantly without revealing their intentions. Dr. Wong, initiate Project Hydra, Chen ordered. Let's show them why fighting humanity is like fighting a swamp, the harder they strike, the deeper they sink. Project Hydra was humanity's masterstroke, a system that turned the enemy's own energy weapons against them. Each shot they fired would be analyzed, adapted to, and eventually redirected. The more they attacked, the more data the quantum prediction engine would gather. Admiral, Rodriguez interrupted, we're detecting Imperial probes attempting to scan Mars' surface. They're looking for our command center. Chen smiled. Let them look. Olympus Base is just one of dozens of redundant command centers. We learned from Earth's history, no single point of failure. We are humanity. Cut off one head, two more take its place. As the Imperial scouts continued their surveillance, humanity's true arsenal remained hidden in plain sight. It wasn't their weapons that made them formidable, it was their adaptability, their embrace of chaos, and their ability to turn apparent weakness into strength. The real battle was coming, and humanity was ready to show the galaxy why underestimating Earth was the last mistake many civilizations would ever make. Counterstrike. The Azurian Empire's Grand Fleet emerged from hyperspace like a metal constellation, over 10,000 ships strong. High Commander Zyxtal had spent 3 months gathering this force, the largest fleet mobilization in Imperial history. His scales now shimmered with anticipation of swift victory. But Earth was empty. No ships in orbit. No signs of the lunar bases. Even the orbital debris that had cluttered the planet's surrounding space was gone. Scans showed human cities continuing their normal activities below, but every military installation they'd previously detected had vanished. High Commander, Valnor reported, her scales shifting to warning yellow, gravitational sensors are detecting anomalies. Before Zyxtal could respond, space itself seemed to wrinkle. Hundreds of points across the solar system distorted simultaneously as humanity unveiled its most ambitious technology yet, the gravity lance. These weapons didn't fire projectiles or energy beams, they fired precisely controlled gravitational distortions, turning space itself into a weapon. The Empire's front line of destroyers began to twist, their hulls stretching and compressing as localized spacetime fluctuations tore them apart. The rigid crystalline architecture that had served the Empire for millennia proved catastrophically vulnerable to gravitational manipulation. Impossible! Zyxtal roared. Their technology was primitive mere months ago. Sir, Valnor's voice carried an edge of fear. "We're detecting quantum signatures throughout the asteroid belt. They're moving the asteroids." The asteroid belt came alive. What Imperial scouts had dismissed as random rocks were revealed as camouflaged human vessels and weapon platforms. But more terrifyingly, the asteroids themselves began to move with purpose. Humanity had turned the entire belt into a vast minefield, each rock precisely controlled through quantum gravity manipulation. Then humanity's fleet appeared, not through conventional emergence from stealth, but by seemingly materializing from within the fabric of space itself. They had adapted their gravity manipulation technology to create micro-wormholes, allowing their ships to bypass normal space entirely. Admiral Chen's voice echoed across all Imperial frequencies. "Did you really think we'd fight fair?" The human counterattack was unlike anything in Imperial military records. Their ships moved in patterns that defied conventional physics, using localized gravity distortions to accelerate, decelerate, and change direction instantly. The quantum prediction engine had evolved, now calculating battle strategies that took advantage of the fundamental forces of the universe itself. Multiple hull breaches. Valnor reported as another gravity lance struck the eternal dawn. "Our shields are useless against these weapons. They're not stopping the attacks, they're being used to amplify them." Zyxtal watched in horror as human vessels seemed to dance through his fleet. They would appear through micro-wormholes, fire their gravity lances, and vanish before Imperial gunners could even target them. Each attack was precisely calculated to use the Empire's own shield geometry against itself, creating resonance patterns that shattered crystalline hulls from within. "Launch the automated drone fleet," Zyxtal commanded. The Empire's latest technology, autonomous combat units that could react faster than any organic crew, deployed in swarms. Chen's laugh echoed through the command channel. "Thank you for the delivery. We were hoping you'd bring those." The human quantum prediction engine had already analyzed the drone fleet's control protocols. Instead of fighting them, humanity's cyber warfare specialists began capturing them, turning the Empire's own automated weapons against them. "Sir," Valnor's voice was barely a whisper, "we're detecting similar gravitational distortions throughout our supply lines. They're not just attacking us here, they're striking everywhere simultaneously." Through the quantum entanglement network, humanity had coordinated a solar system-wide assault. While the main Imperial fleet faced Earth's gravity lances, human strike teams were emerging through micro-wormholes at every Imperial outpost and supply line within 50 light-years. "You rely too much on order," Chen's voice carried a hint of pity. "You see space as something to be conquered and controlled. We see it as something to be danced with, to be worked with. The universe itself fights on our side because we don't try to impose our will on it, we adapt to it." The battle became a lesson in humility for the Empire. Their rigid tactics and perfectly organized formations fell apart against an enemy that seemed to ignore the very rules of space combat. Human ships would combine into larger units or split into smaller ones mid-battle, their advanced nanomaterials allowing them to reconfigure on the fly. Project Hydra proved devastating, turning each Imperial weapon fired into data for the quantum prediction engine. By the battle's third hour, human ships were predicting and countering Imperial attacks before they were even launched. Zyxtal watched his mighty fleet being systematically dismantled by an enemy that fought like no other. The Empire had expected to face ships and soldiers. Instead, they were fighting against physics itself, weaponized by a species that had turned its own chaotic nature into its greatest strength. "All ships, emergency withdrawal," he finally ordered, his scales black with shame. But even retreat proved difficult, as human gravity manipulation had created a complex web of spatial distortions throughout the battlefield. As the remnants of the Imperial fleet limped back through hyperspace, Chen's final message followed them: "Consider this a demonstration. Next time, we won't be so gentle. The galaxy is changing, Commander. Evolve with it, or step aside for species that will." The counterstrike had done more than defeat an Imperial fleet, it had shattered the Empire's belief in its own invincibility. Humanity had not just won a battle, they had rewritten the rules of space warfare itself. The Empire strikes. Deep within the imperial throne world of Azurix Prime, the Council of High Lords gathered for the first time in a millennium. Their scales shifted through patterns of distress as they reviewed the devastating defeat at Sol. The empire that had stood unchallenged for 10,000 years now faced an enemy that defied conventional understanding. Supreme Lord Kexthal, his scales rippling with barely contained rage, addressed the council. This human infection must be burned out, no matter the cost. Ready the World Breaker. The World Breaker was the Empire's ultimate weapon, a massive ship capable of destabilizing a star's core, destroying entire solar systems. It had been used only once before, to end the last rebellion 5,000 years ago. Its very existence was meant to deter any thoughts of resistance. But humanity had already anticipated this move. As the World Breaker and its escort fleet of 50,000 ships emerged from hyperspace at the edge of Sol system, they found themselves facing not Earth's military, but a fundamental reimagining of space itself. The entire solar system had been transformed into a vast defensive network, with every planet, moon, and asteroid integrated into humanity's quantum gravity web. Admiral Chen stood in the New Earth Defense Command, now housed in a pocket dimension between normal spacetime. They brought exactly what we expected. Initiate Operation Mobius. The human response was unprecedented. Instead of conventional defenses, they had turned their gravity manipulation technology to an even more ambitious purpose. The space around the Imperial fleet began to fold in impossible ways, creating a Klein bottle configuration in four-dimensional spacetime. Fascinating, Dr. Wong observed, watching the quantum prediction engine's calculations unfold. They've trapped themselves in their own attack vector. The World Breaker fired its primary weapon, a beam of exotic particles designed to burrow into a star's core. But in the twisted spacetime around it, the beam curved in a perfect loop, creating a closed temporal circuit. The massive energy meant to destroy Sol's star instead fed back into itself, trapped in an infinite causal loop. High Commander Zhuangxtao, now commanding the World Breaker, watched in horror as his ultimate weapon became useless. Impossible. They're manipulating laws of physics that our scientists say cannot be broken. Not broken, Chen's voice came through on all frequencies. Just, reinterpreted. You see immutable laws. We see guidelines open to creative interpretation. The Imperial fleet found itself fighting an enemy that seemed to exist everywhere and nowhere. Human ships phased between dimensions, appearing inside Imperial formations only to vanish before they could be targeted. The quantum prediction engine had evolved further, now calculating strategies across multiple planes of existence simultaneously. Project Hydra has compiled complete data on their weapon systems, Rodriguez reported. Initiating total spectrum counter-response. The nanomaterial coating Earth's ships had evolved, now capable of absorbing and redirecting any form of energy the Empire could deploy. Each Imperial attack made humanity's defenses stronger, more adaptive, more resilient. But humanity's greatest weapon wasn't their technology, it was their imagination. While the Empire thought in terms of brute force and overwhelming firepower, humans had turned space combat into an art form. Their ships moved in patterns that seemed random but were actually precise calculations based on chaos theory and quantum mathematics. Sir, Valnor reported to Zhuangxtao, her scales pale with fear, we're detecting quantum entanglement signatures throughout our fleet. They're not just predicting our moves, they're reading our tactical networks in real time. The Empire's supposedly unbreakable encryption had been undone not by brute force computation, but by humans thinking outside normal spacetime. They had developed quantum sensors that could detect the subtle variations in reality caused by information flow, reading Imperial communications by observing their effect on the fabric of space itself. All ships, fire everything. Zhuangxtao ordered in desperation. The Imperial fleet unleashed its full arsenal, enough firepower to shatter planets. But the humans had one final surprise. As the barrage approached Earth, the entire planet seemed to flicker. The quantum prediction engine had calculated the precise moment and method to shift an entire planet slightly out of phase with normal spacetime, allowing the attack to pass harmlessly through. Impossible. Zwickstall's scales turned white with shock. No species can move an entire planet. We didn't move it, Chen replied calmly. We just convinced spacetime that, for a fraction of a second, Earth would work better slightly to the left of where you thought it was. The universe is more flexible than you imagine, you just have to ask nicely. The battle became a lesson in futility for the Empire. Their mighty world breaker, designed to destroy stars, was rendered impotent by humans who had learned to dance between the moments of time itself. Their fleet, the largest ever assembled, found itself fighting shadows that struck with devastating precision before vanishing into folds of spacetime that shouldn't exist. As the Empire's formations crumbled, Chen made one final transmission: your empire is built on the assumption that the rules of reality are fixed and immutable. Humanity thrives on finding exceptions, alternatives, and loopholes. We don't break the laws of physics, we just negotiate with them more creatively than you ever imagined possible. The World Breaker, pride of the Imperial fleet, began its humiliating retreat, its hull scarred by weapons that bypassed its defenses by briefly shifting them into alternate dimensions where they didn't exist. The Empire's greatest attack had failed not through lack of power, but through a fundamental inability to comprehend how thoroughly humanity had revolutionized the nature of space warfare itself. Victory through innovation. The imperial capital world of Azurix Prime buzzed with unprecedented activity. For the first time in its history, the Eternal Throne Room hosted not just the Council of High Lords, but a human delegation. Admiral Chen stood before the gathered lords, her presence a testament to how dramatically the galaxy had changed. Supreme Lord Kexthal's scales shifted through colors of reluctant respect. In 10,000 years of imperial history, no species has forced us to consider negotiation. Perhaps that's the problem, Chen replied. Your empire stopped growing the moment it stopped adapting. You turned stability into stagnation. The quantum prediction engine had revealed a startling truth: the Empire's greatest weakness wasn't military but philosophical. Their very devotion to order and hierarchy had made them vulnerable to humanity's creative chaos. We offer you a choice, Chen continued, activating a holographic display. Partnership or obsolescence. The display showed the spread of human innovation throughout the galaxy. Already, dozens of supposedly primitive species had begun adopting Earth's approach to technology and warfare. The rigid structure of imperial space was dissolving, replaced by a more dynamic, adaptive galactic society. Look at what we've achieved in months, Chen gestured to the display. Now imagine what we could accomplish together. Your empire has 10,000 years of knowledge. We have endless imagination about how to use it differently. Dr. Wong stepped forward, presenting data from the quantum prediction engine. Our analysis shows that combining imperial technology with human innovation would advance galactic civilization by approximately 2,000 years within a single decade. The council chamber erupted in discussion, scales flickering through arrays of colors. The empire that had prided itself on unchanging strength now faced the need to evolve or fade into history. And if we refuse? Kexthal challenged. Chen's response was calm but firm. Then we continue our expansion. Not through conquest, but by sharing our innovations with every species that wants them. Your empire will become irrelevant not through defeat, but through progress. It was humanity's ultimate weapon, not destruction, but transformation. The quantum prediction engine had shown that the Empire's rigid hierarchy couldn't survive contact with human ideas about adaptation and innovation. Already, Rodriguez added, 17 imperial frontier worlds have requested human technical advisors. They see the future, and it's not in crystal ships and rigid formations. The Empire's choice was clear: adapt or watch their influence dissolve as the galaxy embraced humanity's dynamic approach to civilization. Their military might, once absolute, had been rendered obsolete not by superior firepower, but by superior imagination. Very well, Kexthal's scales settled into a pattern of acceptance. The Azurian Empire will evolve. The agreement that followed changed the galaxy forever. Humanity didn't dismantle the empire, they transformed it. Imperial shipyards began producing vessels that combined crystalline technology with human innovation. The quantum prediction engine was adapted to enhance imperial governance, making it more responsive and adaptive. Remember, Chen told the council as the historic accord was signed, humanity's greatest strength isn't our technology. It's our ability to look at the impossible and ask, why not? Within years, the rigid boundaries between imperial and human space blurred. Ships using hybrid technologies explored the unknown regions between galaxies. The quantum gravity web expanded, creating new trade routes that bent spacetime in ways that would have seemed impossible before. But perhaps the most profound change was philosophical. The Empire learned to value chaos as much as order, to see uncertainty not as a threat but as an opportunity. They discovered that their crystalline technology, combined with human quantum manipulation, could achieve things neither civilization had imagined possible. Standing on the observation deck of the New Earth Azurix Combined Sciences Academy, Admiral Chen watched ships of both species working together to construct a Dyson sphere around a distant star. The project used imperial crystal technology guided by human chaos theory to create structures that danced between dimensions. "We didn't just win a war," she told Dr. Wong, who stood beside her. "We won the future." The quantum prediction engine's final calculation had proven prophetic: the greatest victories come not from destroying your enemy, but from transforming them into something better than either of you could have been alone. In the end, humanity's greatest contribution to the galaxy wasn't their technology or their military prowess. It was their ability to show even the most rigid and powerful civilization in history that the universe holds endless possibilities, if you're brave enough to imagine them.